I don't know why I was put in this situation. I don't know why. I don't know why I survived. Maybe it is to motivate other people who go through things so that you can get some of your life back. I have more of my life back than I thought I'd ever have.
All right, welcome in, folks, to another episode of the For Your Health podcast. I have been waiting very patiently for my guest today. We're very excited. We've done a lot of these podcasts, as you guys who have tuned in with us would readily know, based off of data and numbers with the Prescription for Your Health program. But one of the things we really wanted to do was key in on some of the stories of people who are involved in the Prescription for Your Health program. And today we are thrilled to be joined by one of the first, if not the first, person who got into the Prescription for Your Health program. And that's BJ Schreckengost. And what a story she has to tell. I am looking forward to getting into this. We're going to talk about your upbringing real quick. We're going to talk about the life-changing event that happened to you and what has happened to you since then. Thank you, number one, for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's get into it. Obviously, I know you just through sports because you were a basketball player at Roane County High School when I started broadcasting. So,
has it been that long?
It's been quite a while.
Okay, all right.
But you grew up here in Roane County.
Right.
Let's talk about your upbringing real quickly, just to give a foundation.
Grew up farm girl in Lennyville, way out in the sticks where my dad used to joke, you got to pipe sunlight to us up the hollers.
Are you saying you took two buses to get to the bus?
No, we had to drive out to the bus, and then I had to switch buses. Yeah, pretty much. And that whole walk uphill both ways in the snow, I did that. It's not just our grandparents. I had to do that one morning because Gary got almost a foot, and Spencer, there was no snow, and I had a game that night. A mile, both hills, trekked out with my gym bag. It was not fun. Anyhow, grew up on a farm. I was not farm girl material. I can do farm girl stuff. I just never cared for it as much as everyone else. I finally convinced my mom to let me play sports. 6th grade, started with softball. Frank Farrar was the middle school coach at Gary at the time. He convinced Mom. He's like, I want her on my team. I think she'd be good. I'd never played a lick in my life. I worked every week all summer. And that's how I got into basketball, and I went from never playing and was the only 7th grade starter.
Yeah.
That year. Always been a big girl, but I'm not afraid of hard work.
Yeah.
Never been. And it makes me work harder if you tell me I can't do something. I'm more of you tell me I can't do it, I'll take pictures and do it twice.
Well, that's a tremendous premonition for what we're going to be talking about here.
It really is because I kind of told him that in the hospital a couple times, too.
So you go through high school. Obviously, you play sports in high school. Being athletic, being active is a very important thing for you, obviously.
Yes, I was a 4-sport athlete, and then everything else I did. So sports were very important, and it also leads up to, I think, why I'm such a fighter.
Yeah, it's just the persistence, the tenacity that you have to have, number one, to even play 4 sports. Number 2, to be able to manage time and to be motivated enough to keep doing stuff like that.
It's discipline. I mean, willpower, whatever, however you want to say it. It's a drive or a want. You got to want to do it, and I need to do it. Yeah. It's not want is one thing, but I need to do it.
Yeah. So you graduate from Roane County High School.
And then I move away.
Let's talk about that.
And I said I'd never be back, and yet here I am.
That's it. Never coming back.
I did, and I did. I moved away. I went to Morgantown, graduated from Morgantown with a degree in journalism, focus on public relations. I like to talk, apparently.
Well, that's why
no one knows me. He knows say that.
Hey, you're a perfect guest for us here. That's why.
And I stayed in Morgantown for a little bit, and then I moved to Illinois with a girlfriend from college, or a roommate from college, and then moved back to Morgantown, and then I've worked everywhere. I've done hospitality. I've worked with public, And then I became a parent, which is another obstacle, and I ended up being a single parent, which is a whole nother obstacle on top of being a parent.
You're saying this success and recovery story has many levels to
I
it.
have done many things. I've lived many lives and done many things. And this is the thing I said, what choice did I have?
Mm-hmm.
When people ask how I was a single parent, what choice did I have? I don't know how you raise your kid and go back to school. What choice did I have? Lost my job, couldn't find a job with an infant. Guess I'm moving home to Roane County.
Yes, Roane County's welcoming you with open arms.
And they did. And it was like I never left, but I left. But it was weird. And then I decided, well, my degree in PR is not going to do anything here in Roane County, really. Not a big market.
Yeah.
Teaching. Teaching is a dependable job.
Mm-hmm.
We need teachers. I could have done a transit to teaching, but I wouldn't have been able to take on other student learners.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'll just go back to school. I thought it'd be a year. Ended up being 2.5 years.
And how old were you when you went back to school for this?
30.
Okay.
So teaching's my second career, and life changes at 30. Life changes at 35.
Yeah.
What you are at 21, I could not have been a teacher at 21.
Nor could I have.
There's no way. There's no way I could have been a teacher, but becoming a parent and living life a little bit in your 20s, you learn to deal with things and learn you can't treat everyone the same way, and you have to learn how to treat each person differently. I can be blunt with you, but I got to be a little tender-hearted with somebody else.
Yeah.
And I became a full-fledged licensed teacher with a degree in education. I'm a social studies teacher, so I like to talk about politics, history, everything.
You and my mother would get along.
Yeah, I'm well-rounded. Let's just put it that way. I like to call it well-rounded. And then exactly 2 months after graduation, in 2017, February 2018, life really hit a bump.
Yeah, it's interesting you call it a bump. I'm telling you, the story that you're getting ready to tell is not one. It's not one that's easy for people to hear, probably, because it is so shocking and so just incredible that you're sitting here with us right now. But before we talk about your wellness journey, you're a survivor. You're flat out a survivor, and I want to give you the forum now to tell the story. And again, it is, I don't know how many people know the true story about you. I'm sure people may have heard some things.
And you still hear things like, oh, that wasn't that. I'm like, no. They're like, oh, I didn't realize it was that long, or I didn't realize it was this. Yeah.
So you had a life-changing event 2.5 months after you graduated, and were getting ready to, again, start a new career as a single mother, getting ready to become a teacher.
I was long-term subbing at Walton, actually.
Yeah. So what happened? I'm like to say, I'm just going to let you talk about it real quick.
Well,
or not real quick. You got time. It takes some time.
It does take some time. And I'm not, and I preface this, I'm not over-exaggerating when I say certain things. People like to say, oh, well, that's a little exaggeration. I got the pictures to prove that I'm not exaggerating. So, end of February, teachers are on strike. We're at the Capitol, teachers from all 55 counties. Well, on the 23rd of February, we were there in the morning. On the way home, about 2:30 in the afternoon, we were 30 seconds from the Clendenin exit. A vehicle in front of us hits the brakes. The driver I was in the back seat. The driver of the car hydroplanes and overcompensates, and we flipped 3 times. I unfortunately didn't have my seatbelt on in the back seat, seeing how as adults you don't have to have your seatbelt. And I was thrown through the panoramic sunroof and hit the median at about 70, 75 miles an hour, which it's a good thing I hit the dirt instead of the road. I guess you could say
It would have been much better.
The impact alone should have killed me.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty positive my heart stopped on impact. My right side of my body was completely crushed, broken, whatever you want to call it. I thought my leg had been rolled over. So I'm laying there on the ground making peace with the fact that I'm probably going to lose my right leg. There's no way how bad it hurt that I wasn't going to lose my right leg. Yeah. So I'm standing there like, oh, my mom's an art teacher. I'll get a prosthetic. She'll paint it. It'll be fine.
That's what's going through your mind 10 seconds into this?
I promise you that's what was going through my mind.
We can. The reason I'm giggling
I've been told
is not because it's not a serious matter, but as you've said, you have a kind of a dark sense of humor about this stuff.
I do.
So I don't want people to think I'm laughing at your situation.
But I'm also at work well under pressure, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at that. I don't stress out when other people do. Like if it's hot, everyone else is stressing out. I'm like, listen, calm down. Let's just handle it. Then we can stress out. Like I'd rather get it done than freak out.
Yeah.
And I've had multiple people tell me, because the people that stopped to help ended up being bus drivers from Morgantown, which I know went to school with some of their daughters, ended up at Morgantown. Or they know some of my friends who are in Morgantown who are teachers in Morgantown now. And they will tell you that I was the calmest person at the wreck. A lot of people who have traumatic trauma like this will freak out, try to stand up. Their adrenaline, they go into shock very, really quickly. That's just how severe car wrecks go.
Yeah.
I'm laying on the ground, cool, calm, and collected, knowing I'm hurt. And everyone's like, we think you're hurt. And I said, no, I know I'm hurt. Don't try and get up. Don't plan on it. I mean, the way my leg felt, I knew I was hurt. Mm-hmm. I'm a realist. I knew I was hurt. I kept my eyes closed, though, because I was not opening them. Thank God it was February, but it was like 55 degrees. Yeah. They kept telling me, don't move. The ambulance was on the way. It took over 20 minutes for the ambulance to get there. It came from Charleston. And I remember saying, someone needs to call and let them know I can't pick up my daughter. My brain's going, okay, I'm going to lose my leg. I'll be fine. I'll learn how to walk. And then I'm going, someone needs to make sure RA gets picked up from school, from daycare. And thank God we knew people there. And my older sister, or my younger sister, she acts like she's older, never mind. But my younger sister, who was a nurse here, was actually on the day off, and she was in Parkersburg when she got the call. It took so long for the ambulance to get to me, get me loaded. And in Charleston, she got there right when they were taking me off the ambulance. And priority 1, trauma 1, if you're in the ER, nurse, doctor, that is low chance of survival usually. Yeah. When it's trauma 1. I remember everything, telling, what's taking so long, them getting me on the ambulance, asking them to please don't drop me. I've already fell out of a car. Again, that's the dark humor coming out. They're open your eyes. I'm like, I'm not opening my eyes. I will talk to you, but because they want to keep you talking. It's like, I'll talk, but I'm keeping my eyes closed because I don't want to see any of this either. And the last thing I remember is them taking me off the ambulance. And it goes black. And then I wake up in April. Yeah.
And again, this wreck happened in February?
February 23rd. And my first memory, I believe, is April 12th, April 13th is my first memory. I was more of a waking coma. But that night, so this is about 3:30 by this time, my sister calls my mom, and her being an OR and an ER nurse says, Mom, she may not be here when you get here. Yeah. It's that bad. She probably won't be here. And all my doctors at the time will tell you, just one of my injuries should have been fatal. Let's start with the good injuries. And then, again, another dark humor. Sorry, everybody. Sorry. My neck was broken. My back was broken 3 places. My pelvis was crushed. My right ribs were completely shattered. Like I have a metal plate in my right side now. My left ribs were fractured. They were all fractured, but they weren't shattered. My sternum was broken half, and my shoulder was busted. My right shoulder. But it's the internal injuries. I had no external injuries at the wreck. No. So that's why they were asking. We think you're hurt. I had
minor cuts and scrapes. Maybe?
I had one scrape, that scar on my arm right there, and that's probably where I hit a rock. It was the internal, my insides. The best way to describe it, you know those water balloon things you can get where it flows up all those water balloons, right? Yeah. If you drop all that at once, the water balloons bust on the ground. That's basically what happened to my entire inside. Yeah. Everything busted. And the only two organs that were not affected, or they were affected but they weren't injured, were my heart and my bladder. Were the only two completely still functioning organs I had. Yeah. And thank God for that, because my heart was working in overtime for the next 6 months. Yeah. They said my heart rate never went below 150 for about 2 months because it was working so hard. Yeah. And I would lose over a pound a day, even though I was swollen and everything. I've lost over half of my colon, bowels, all that, intestines. I have no spleen. They had to rebuild my diaphragm, which keeps your lungs moving. I think it's fake. I don't know, but I just know they had to rebuild it.
It's made out of plastic?
I don't know. I think so. I mean, I just know it was non-existent when I came in that night. Almost lost my pancreas. I had to have a drainage tube in my pancreas up until 2 days before I left the hospital. And then I looked like a field-dressed deer for the next 7 years, basically.
All told, in the 2 months that you were in the hospital, that you were
in a coma,
were they able to go ahead and start doing surgeries on you in that situation?
I had at least 30 surgeries probably in those 2 months. Yeah. And then after a week, that's when I acquired a trach. That's also why I have a raspy voice now. And I had a trach with a C-collar on because I had a broken neck. Yeah. That's where it caused scar tissue, is where one was pushing on the other. And I have a scar from my spine up to under my chest where they fixed my ribs. I also have a foot-by-foot scar on my stomach where they had to let me heal wide open. Yeah. But it looked like a basketball sitting on my stomach. But they had to be able to go back in there and fix stuff. So one day they'd fix one thing, then they'd have to go in there and fix another thing.
And you think about the shock that the body is under when that happens.
They found food from my stomach in my lungs. Like over here, they found, I'm trying not to be too graphic, but corn. Yeah. They found corn over here on my right side in the back of my lungs. Yeah. I ended up developing a fistula, a bowel fistula. So my plumbing didn't work, and my bowel movements were coming out an inch below my breasts. And that was until they didn't get that fixed until 2019. So for over a year, my bowel movements came from right where my bra is. Yeah. Now. That was fun. That was fun.
You know, you're just, as you're going through this, the word survivor keeps coming up in my head because you, at that point physically, probably should not have made it.
No. I've told this story so many times. There's so much to it. That night when they came in, I don't know how many liters of blood I've needed over that 2 months in particular, but I know that night during surgery to keep me alive, they needed 17 units of blood. The body carries 9. Yeah. They needed 17, and I'm A positive, so that was fortunate they had that much. Yeah. 17 that night. And I continued to need blood up until one of my first memories is having a blood transfusion in April. because there was bleeding somewhere and they didn't know where it was coming from.
Yeah.
And with injuries to your stomach and like that, you can imagine food was not an option. So I didn't eat for 180 days.
Yeah.
I was in the hospital for 184 days, which is 6 months and 4 days. 180 of those days, no food, no feeding tube. Medical people will know I was nourished through a TPN, which is through a PICC line in your arm, through a cord that goes to your heart. And it looks like milk, and it smells like vinegar. And it's sticky. And it's...
You're saying that's a memory you can't get rid of?
Yeah, you can't get rid of that. Because when they would change it, sometimes some would drip, and I'm like, what is that smell? So no water, no food. There was month 4 is when they finally let me have small drinks. I actually had to convince them to just let me wet my whistle, and I was like, let's let me put something in my mouth, and then I'll spit it out. It took me almost 2 weeks to convince them to let me do that.
Yeah.
Because thirst is, if you ever see me, I always got 2 or 3 drinks on me because I never want to be thirsty again. And finally, they're like, okay, if we'll give you something to drink while we're in the room, but you can't drink it, you can only switch it around your mouth and spit it out. Yeah. And once I proved I could do that, they had to empty my spit cup. But just wetting my mouth was relief. My sister will make fun of me. I'm going all over the place, guys, so I'm sorry.
No, it's quite all right. Like I said, it's just an incredible story.
I was malnourished, so, food for now 6 months. You can only imagine I lost 70 pounds, which still is a big girl, but, whatever, 70 pounds. During that first 2 months, it was the obstacles that I shouldn't have lived. So every injury should have killed me.
Yeah.
Individually. Then on top of that, I got pneumonia twice, and I went septic twice. And for anyone that doesn't know, being septic, having sepsis, is fatal if you do not get it and treat it quickly enough.
Yeah.
If you don't catch it early enough. And where there was just so much stuff everywhere causing infection, they thought they'd fixed one thing and then they'd find something else. But there was times I was battling sepsis and pneumonia at the same time. And my lungs are literally beat. The last time I had a chest x-ray, I think last year, the x-ray tech asked if I'd had a lung transplant because this lung just looks so weird.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it's mine, but it's been through a lot. But yeah, so those first 2.5 months, I am very grateful. I don't remember, but I remember the hallucinations and nightmares because some of the medicine is known to give you.
Yeah.
When I came out, one of the first memories I have, they called psych down. Sometimes I'd lose my temper. I still lose my temper sometimes. I couldn't talk. So there's notebooks of me writing and telling people what I need or what's going on, and you'd always tell when I was mad. My writing got big.
Did you write in all caps? You said?
Sometimes. They called psych down, and forgive me, I'm going to say exactly what I said so no one get offended. Psych came down, and what's making you fight so hard to stay alive is the question they asked. Mm-hmm. And I looked them straight in the eye and said, I got shit to do.
What that reminds me of a good old country farm girl, honestly. You're like, I ain't got time for this.
No. And they just looked at me like, what? I've got stuff to do. Why am I fighting so hard? that was my literal words to them. I got shit to do.
So you spend 6 months total.
6 months total in the hospital. And then I spend a little over 2 months in Ripley at a nursing home.
Okay.
And then finally, October 30th, from February 23rd, I come home October 30th.
And this, again, is still 2018.
2018.
Correct?
I come home. I was living across the road at Imperial Gardens. I made it up the 2 steps and got into my new chair. It was a lift chair.
Yeah.
And that's where I slept for the next 1.5 years.
Let me ask you this. At that point in your recovery process, were you able to walk? Were you
very little?
Some wheelchair kind of?
So physical therapy at the hospital, we started, I think, in May. And they told me I wasn't going to walk. Well, after they realized I wasn't going to die, they told me I was probably going to be paralyzed. Then once they realized I wasn't paralyzed, they told me I would probably never walk without a walker or things like that. And I'm like, okay, we'll see.
Exactly. We go back to the initial point of this conversation. You said, if you tell me I can't do something.
I will do it, and I'll take pictures, and I'll do it twice. And I didn't believe them. They're like, you're not even going to be able to stand up. And for some reason, I had retained my upper body strength. Like, I could pull myself up in the bed. But I knew my legs. I couldn't bend my toes.
Yeah.
So I knew once they realized I wasn't paralyzed and I could feel, it was getting the muscle back. And I've always prided myself on being a strong individual, and then I can't even lift my leg. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. It took me 3 days to get the strength up to stand up, and I stood up for probably 5 seconds. And they were all so impressed, and I'm sitting there mad because it was 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're not even supposed to be alive, let alone standing, so you did amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not accepting that. And weeks go by, I stand, and I don't think I take my first step until they moved. I moved rooms, and I moved around the room. I didn't really move around the room, but I moved. I probably took 10 steps in that room.
Yeah.
And then I would walk in the hallways a little bit. But I also had a complex where I have feces dropping from I wasn't able to wear clothes really. So it's like, and you feel like my stomach's still open.
Yeah.
And I have to have a binder on or my insides will literally fall out. It's hard to walk when you're scared that your insides are going to fall out.
Yeah.
Elder care, when I got moved to elder care, that's when my walking took off.
Yeah.
I was still in a wheelchair. I rolled myself down to physical therapy every day. I would roll myself down there and then walk on the beams, walk. I remember when I couldn't even get out of a chair like the ones we're sitting in right now.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting in kindergarten chairs at school and I can get up. So I remember when standing for 30 seconds was a goal.
It was an accomplishment.
Was amazing. Stacy Callow was my at-home therapist at the time. And we tackled the stairs at Imperial Gardens. That was January, maybe, beginning of February.
This is 2019.
Yeah, this is now 2019.
So you're coming upon
On
almost
a year. Yeah.
Just to get to where you could stand and move a little bit.
Yeah, and move and go to the bathroom without having to worry about someone being there.
Yeah.
I was just glad to be home. And my health improved greatly once I came home, which I also feel like that had to do with being able to see my daughter.
Yeah.
She was 4 at the time. 4. I missed her being 4. I saw her a grand total of 5 times while I was in the hospital. And the only reason I got to see her is because the hospital staff basically snuck her in on a Sunday for me. They knew that was the best medicine for me.
100%.
Was to see my kid.
Yeah.
Those were good days until they left. And thank God for FaceTime because I was able to have my phone. But Mother's Day was the first time I remember seeing my daughter.
Yeah. Well, let me sidetrack. No,
Sorry.
I'm going to sidetrack you here on that situation. I know we're talking about you and your
but
journey here,
yeah.
but now that you've been in this through 7 years and she's grown now, what is she, 11, 12 years old at this point?
She's 11.
What is her thoughts on this? Because she was probably so young that she didn't quite understand what was going on. And now that she's old enough to comprehend, are those conversations had with what is going on? And what does she think about that?
She knows mommy's different.
Yeah.
Whether she'll admit it or not, because she's at that age where I don't know anything anymore.
Oh, so it doesn't matter what's happened to you. She's still a preteen.
No, still a preteen. It's wonderful. But I hide what I can't do very well. To look at me just sitting here talking, you wouldn't know I have a 12 by 12 scar on my stomach and a leaking belly button that still leaks pus.
Yeah.
And I have no abdomens. Like, I have no ab muscles. I will never have a core. So also working out, people are like, oh yeah, I need to work on my core too. And I'm like,
Wish I had one of those.
I don't have one. Oh, you just need to do this. All right. And then I pull on my workout pants down. I'm like, no core.
Yeah.
That's my guts right now, as you see moving. Like, but if you don't know, you don't know. But
Yeah.
I will never have ab muscles again. They've been apart for too long. I've accepted that.
Yeah.
So that's why when I work out, I have to modify and adapt.
This is one of these stories, by the way, for people who may be watching right now. You might want to think about the excuses you give for not showing up to the gym when you think about the story of BJ Schreckengost. So I'm going to timeline. Yeah, I'm going to timeline it here. So February of 2018, the wreck happens. You're in a coma for nearly 2 full months.
Almost 2.5, actually.
Yeah, you're in the hospital for 6.5 months.
Yep.
You get to the year mark. You find out, I assume, about the year mark, you're going to survive. You're too stubborn not to, right?
They figured after I came out of the stupid, they're like, I think she might. They told my mom every day for those 2 months, say goodbye today because today could be the day. Mm-hmm. And then when I was finally coming out of it and not as, death is off the table. That's not off the table, but it's not imminent.
Yeah.
And then after a few more months, she might survive this.
Yeah.
Which still surprises any new doctor I have if they actually read my file.
Just the amount of trauma that you took in so many ways.
No one should have survived that.
There's so many times where the body is trying to recover and heal itself, and it could go awry anytime very quickly because of all that trauma. So you make it through that. You make it through that first year, and you mentioned, okay, we're going to transition into this wellness program,
right?
Here.
And so that
you got in first to a little bit of physical therapy.
2021. Now we're in. Okay, let's skip ahead. 2021. I've had multiple more surgeries in between there. My plumbing got fixed, so all my personal plumbing works. However, there was complications from the 2019 surgery where they fixed my insides. I was allergic to the permanent sutures. So now I have 7 drainage holes in my stomach. I look like one of those bags with a pencil in it. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't get that surgery until I got my throat work done again because I have to be intubated with a child's intubation. And the scar tissue keeps coming back. Well, I start physical therapy over here 3 weeks after major abdominal surgery that took 8 hours.
Yeah.
And I had to have a wound vac. I started physical therapy, and with physical therapy, they sent me over to the gym because with therapy, you go to the gym. This is during COVID. So gym's closed, except for physical therapy patients. Yeah. I was like, all right, I'll go to the gym. I need to work on it. I need to get some of this off. I need to get my strength back. I don't like not being strong. And then I started working out, and I could only do like 2 days a week. I could only do 5 minutes of this, 2 minutes of that, 10 pounds, this. And then in July, they're like, do you want to be part of this program? Yeah, what is it? I didn't know, well, what is it? I'll do whatever y'all want. Because at this time, I've become really good friends with Matt, Will.
Yeah.
Everyone that works over there. I mean, I see them more than I see anybody else.
Yeah.
And they got me started, and then I moved up from 3 days a week to 4 days a week to sometimes I'm here every day, so 6 days a week. I'm here for 3 to 4 hours sometimes. This morning I only worked out for about an hour and a half, but we got things to do. I got things to go.
We had to take some of your time. I'm sorry.
So, no, it's okay. We're talkers. That's the problem. And I signed up, and I'm not sure what my attendance record is, but I know it's up there. So since January or July 2021, I'm almost at 1,000 attendances for however many days that is. So in the last 3 years, 4 years, I'm here. If I'm not here 3 days a week, I'm here 5 days a week. If I'm not here 5 days a week, I'm here 6 days a week.
Well, this Prescription for Your Health program is an all-encompassing program, obviously.
There's so many great things about it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how great it is unless you are willing to want to do it too.
Yeah.
Because it's a choice you make at first. And now if I don't go to the gym, I'm like, I need to go to the gym.
Yeah.
But I wake up every day going, I'm going to the gym. And it is hard once you make it a habit, it's a habit.
Yeah.
I know it sounds cheesy and everyone says that.
But it is true.
But it's true. And I just had someone yesterday, we're like, on the abduct for my hips, because I work really hard on my hips so I can walk. I've maxed the machine out. The machine goes up to 260. I've maxed it out. So I just increased my number.
Yeah.
There are people, but when I started in 2021 after my last major surgery, I was barely doing 40 pounds, 20. When I first came after being in 2019,
Yeah.
I couldn't do 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And on the elliptical, I can go an hour on the elliptical if I want to. I do about 35 minutes on it now. And people are like, oh, I can't even do a minute. I was like, I didn't start that way.
Remember, you started by standing for 5 seconds.
And that's what I was like, this isn't an overnight thing. This isn't just a week one thing. This has been consistency for 4 years almost.
Yeah.
And stubbornness and not wanting to give up.
Well,
That helps a little bit too.
I'm looking down at my notes here, and it says what gives you the motivation. How do you keep going? And when you first introduced yourself, I was like, well, you're stubborn in a good way.
Always have been.
You don't accept what people tell you. And do you think that if there was any time during this whole 7 years span that you would have said to yourself, maybe I can't, that it would have derailed you?
There's been a couple of times. They don't last long. Fortunately for me, they haven't lasted long. And yes, I have PTSD. I have depression. I have anxiety. I can't ride in the backseat of a vehicle.
Well, how do you face this? I mean, how do you do it?
I just do it. And I know that sounds weird. And people are like, oh, and some people, I work well under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
In school, I procrastinated on all my stuff. But working under pressure was always my drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then something serious like this happens. I personally don't have any other choice. I know I need to get up every day because people are counting on me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how bad it gets. I got a now 11-year-old. I'm her only parent. And yes, I know she will be taken care of because my family is very proactive in her life. That's why I moved back to Roane County.
Yeah.
Was to raise her near.
Takes a village, right?
Yes. And I mean, when I came out of the coma, I knew she was okay.
Yeah.
I knew she was okay. Actually, the first thing I asked, I was like, what happened to my students and what happened to the track team? Because I was supposed to start coaching middle school track at Spencer.
That would have been
Monday.
That would have been immediately, yeah.
No, it happened. The wreck happened on Friday. Monday would have been the first day of track practice. Yeah. So that was like my first questions. What happened to the track team? What happened to the students? I was like, I know Aria's fine. Jamie's got her. And that's my sister. I was like, she's fine. She's with Grandma and Aunt Jamie. But I also was wanting to be a coach, and that's why when I said I moved back to Roane County, I would get into coaching. And I thought that was permanently taken away.
Yeah.
That has also been a motivation of mine to work hard to maybe one day get back into that. And as some people know, that has actually happened this year. Yeah. And I'm coaching Spencer Middle School basketball.
Yeah.
I thought coaching was taken away. Yeah. And it's hard, and I'm tired every day. But my soul has healed more in the last year than it has in a long time. And there are days I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And those are the days I put the heating pad on, put the TV on, and just hope that the pain goes away.
Yeah.
Because I am in constant pain. People are like, oh, you must be feeling great. I'm like, no.
You say, well, I'm alive, but there's...
And they're like, oh, you got makeup on today. You must be feeling great. I'm like, it covers the dark circles.
From lack of sleep sometimes, yes.
And I'd rather be put together sometimes. And to quote myself again, forgive me for the language, people.
Don't worry, we've got the ability to.
I got.
We'll bleep it.
I got to do. I got stuff to do. I also want my daughter to know that things can be tough. Things are tough. But if you have the right mindset, you can do things. And I don't know why I was put in this situation. I don't know why. I don't know why I survived. Maybe it is to motivate other people who go through things so that you can get some of your life back.
Yeah.
I have more of my life back than I thought I'd ever have.
Well, you're a walking, talking motivational testimony to never quitting when things go astray. And they went as far astray as you could possibly have. And for you to get to this point in 7 years, and again, as you said, you do credit this Prescription for Your Health program
they check
for
on
being
me.
able to help you in your journey.
They check on me. Matt White, Will Plato, Kyle's coming up a year now being here, I think. They are my family now. I mean, Vicky, all of them, Kim and I went to high school together. Matt went to high school. I went to high school with Matt as well. He's just a little older. Yeah, I throw that in there. He's just older. But we were never really friends in high school. I mean, we did sports together or whatever, but like, he's my buddy now. I mean, I have to have my talk time with Matt before I get working out. It's usually when I'm stretching. That's my stretch time, is my BS time.
Yeah, as we've talked to Matt and Kyle both about being coaches at the fitness center. I said, I bet you didn't know that when you signed up to be a fitness trainer that you had to be almost a psychologist at times or a therapist listening to people, talking with them about their issues.
And a lot of people do. They do come and they've had me talk to a few people who've had rough goes.
Yeah.
Who are having to learn how to walk again, talk again, do normal things that we should be able to do. Your brain's like, do it, but our body's like, nah, not happening today. And it's hard. And I don't know where I read this. This is, I'm going to say it wrong, but it's how I say it. So I'll credit myself with this one right now. I have survived 100% of the days I didn't think I would.
Yeah.
And that's why
well spoken.
And there were days I didn't think I would. And there were days that people didn't think I would. You know, when your medical staff goes, why is she alive? But I have survived 100% of the days I didn't think I would. And I say that to anyone who's had any kind of trauma. Mental, physical, depression, whatever. You have survived 100% of the days you don't think you will. Yeah. As of today.
And you continue that journey, again, 7 years in, 4 years into this program. And again, as I said, you're a walking, talking, motivational testimony to not only just the program here, but just to never quitting, never giving up the faith that you can continue to be the best version of yourself. And I think about that when I think about talking to people about trying to get involved with this program. And we've said a lot that a lot of the problem is just getting in the door and people maybe being scared of the unknown, not sure how or what's going to happen with it. You can tell them, again, I love the fact that we have you on this podcast because somebody out there may be thinking, well, I can't go into the gym and run 20 miles.
No,
I can't go into the gym
either.
And lift. Yeah. Well, it's not about that. It's about where are you today versus where you can be tomorrow.
There's another quote. I love my social media, my memes, that generation. Anything worth doing is worth doing terrible.
I like that.
Would not brushing your teeth or brushing your teeth for 10 seconds, which it's worse to not brush your teeth.
Yeah.
10 seconds is still better than not brushing your teeth.
It's terrible, but still better.
It's still better. And if you only have that 30 seconds, anything worth doing is still worth doing terrible. Yeah. Still do it, even if it's one thing. 10 seconds. If you only feel like just brushing your teeth instead of taking a shower, brushing your teeth still better than not doing anything.
Yeah.
And believe me, there's days where I can't shower or I just can't even get out of bed. I'll sit out in the car and let my stuff charge and talk myself into going in.
Yeah.
You're okay to not want to, but it's the not giving up is the part. You're not failing until you give up.
Let me ask you about that. You're 7 years now into this comeback journey. You're 4 years into a training program at the gym. What are your goals in the immediate? And what I mean is within the next year. And what are your expectations for what you can continue to do as far as where you are now? And again, still in recovery process.
Yeah.
Is there a cap on this recovery?
No. I mean, I just had throat surgery a year ago, and I'll probably have to have another one in a year. I was actually expecting a large stomach surgery again last year to at least try to improve the scar tissue and to see where the belly button is draining from. Yeah. But there's some issues where some stuff has fused to that lining, and doctors not wanting to cause more trauma to an already very traumatized area.
Yeah.
But there is still room for other things that could, it's just.
So internally,
I'm a train wreck with fireworks, I guess.
So there's still room for internal opportunities. What about physically, externally, as far as all limbs intact, all that stuff?
I've met a lot of them.
You've met a lot of them already.
I've done more than any of us ever thought. And like I said, my daughter got into softball last year, and I helped with the team. And I was like, I might be able to coach. And she loves basketball. And I was going to coach for Patch this year, but the middle school job came open. The assistant job came open, and I was like, well, maybe, Aria's 5th grade, but she'll be in 6th grade next year, and I can be her coach for 3 years at least. I don't know if I'll get it, but I'm going to apply. I have a little experience in basketball, just a little. It's been a while, but, it was there. And I got it. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But
coaching kids is tiring no matter what. Let alone with your extra challenges.
But my soul is happy.
Yeah.
My soul is healing.
Well, that's one of the better ways to close out this podcast. One thing I wanted to ask you before we break away, though, is any words of wisdom for somebody who may be getting ready or wants to or doesn't know that they want to start this journey?
Listen, it doesn't matter if you have any problems or you have all the problems. Just come in. I sound like I'm dying half the time on the elliptical. People will go to the mat, be like, is she okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. They're like, oh, yeah, she's fine. I have the windpipe of a 6-year-old. I'm going to sound like I can't breathe.
Yeah.
And running has never been my forte anyway. But I'm not giving up. So, I mean, I'll be your gym buddy, but you don't want to keep up with me because we're going to work if you're going to come with me. But keep coming.
Yeah.
Come in. No one cares.
Exactly.
No one cares if you got a little fat over here or I'm so embarrassed.
They're all worried about their own stuff.
We all got our own problems. Yeah. And that's the thing. And then when people are like, oh, I know you've been through worse. I don't want to bother you with my problems. Like, listen, we all have our own problems. Yeah. My problems do not negate yours. And we all handle them differently. So we're different, but we all have problems. Let's get in here. If you want to do it, do it. And yes, making time can be a problem, but it also can be an excuse. And that is, once you realize you're using it as an excuse, God, I sound like a gym rat.
I got to say,
oh my God, I'm a gym rat.
You ought to start your own meme business, I'll tell you what.
Listen, I have a friend of mine have been talking about starting my own podcast, and I want to name it like surviving the chaos.
Yeah.
And the chaos is everything.
Yeah. The wreck included, the recovery included.
I mean, everything. I mean,
the single motherhood included, all of it.
I've lived so many different lives, and people are like, oh, I couldn't start over. I'm like, I've started over like 6 times. It ain't that bad. It ain't. It's not, I promise.
Well, BJ, I tell you what, I could not wait for this one. This was
well, thank you.
Obviously, the excitement of our first human interest story during this podcast. It's really nice to get away from the data and get into an actual story of unbelievable recovery and survivor, and everything that just encompasses your story is so incredible. And I hope that people who watch this gain some sort of perspective about where they may be in their health journey, and maybe they'll make that decision to stop with the excuses.
I got one more little bit of wisdom that I tell them all the time, real quick, because I gotta go too. I got my girls
you got
waiting
kids.
We got a game tonight. Oh, I just lost it. Where'd it go? Okay, it's the ADHD kicking in too. I really did just lose it. But I say it all the time. I say it all the time. Oh.
I don't want to jinx it too. I'll tell you what, you think of it?
I'll think of it. I'll let you know. I'll
call us later and we'll filter it into the end of this one.
But that's going to irritate me now. But I say it all the time, and it was so true.
You know when you're going to come up with it? About 10 minutes after you walk out the door.
10 minutes or like at halftime and during the basketball games, right when I'll come up with it.
Well, BJ, obviously, I thank you for your time, number one.
Thank you for having me. It's a little embarrassing sometimes, but I'm like, no, I guess if it does help somebody.
It's an unbelievable story. I knew what I knew, but to hear it from you directly is still just shocking and incredible, and it's motivating, if nothing else. I do appreciate it, and folks, if you have any excuses, you might want to watch this podcast over and over and think about how far she's come.
And say hi to me in the gym, because
and say hi to her. Yeah,
I'm not as mean as I look. I have my gym face on. Okay, I do look a little mean, but I'm just trying not to die.
Try to be focused and not die.
Yeah,
right?
It's focus.
BJ Schreckengost, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, Drew. Thank you.